When does history turn into hope? When does what we build reflect who we are? It happens when our tradition of compassion lights our path.
When we talk about the Mustian Center, I mean, it's already part of our vernacular. It speaks to the history of this organization. It helps us to remember our past, and there are lessons that we can always learn from the past. There's some victories and some failures and some opportunities for us to grow and improve. But those stories are inspirational stories, and why lose the inspirational value of our history? You know, no better way of putting that history out there than by naming somebody who is so critical to that history.
I can't think of any better honor for us to have than your family giving us its name to put on here, to honor your father, of course, but honor the efforts he gave. So that in itself is deserving of an early preview.
He was a soldier, you know. He fought in World War II, and he served in the medical corps. His job was to establish field hospitals in Patton's army. He was wounded in the war and got sent back to Belgium, to Brussels. And then when he recuperated, he said that his commander called him back to the front. And he said, I thought it was done. I didn't want to go back to the front. So he said he gets back and he asked the colonel, said, well, why'd you do that? And he said, the colonel said, well, he said, these guys that followed you said, they're scared. And he goes, well, I'm scared too. And the guy goes, yeah, but you can get the job done.
Strong foundations don't come easy, but if you have a leader who demands the extraordinary, then the extraordinary is possible.
He was into the detail, as like you are, about is this going to work, or how's this going to work out? So you got to be.
I can see that in your dad. Just walking around here, you pick up little things that still, it's under construction, and it's not a finished product, but you see little dings here, little things that just come with the work environment. And I will guarantee that every single one that I find, your dad would have found 3 or 4.
He was in your face honest. He told you exactly what he thought, and you never had to guess at it as to what he might have meant. He told you exactly what he meant.
What style he offered yielded very significant results. When he came here, this was really a secondary hospital, and MT basically transformed Tallahassee into the regional leader of care. Really understood the value of being progressive, looking for cutting-edge technologies, building a very strong medical staff, but building a place that people felt confident that if they went there, they would receive great care.
The more you interacted with him, the more you understood he was just a guy who had very simple values about do what's right for the patient.
There's a camera right in the middle of that light fixture that bears right in. You can zoom in on a case.
Pretty cool.
So when you think about this, not only will it accommodate surgeons of all types, but also it'll be great for teaching, because as we bring residents on board, we have a general surgery residency program. There are other residencies that we'll have coming to our community. Those types of technologies will allow us to teach them better than what we've ever been able to do in the past.
A healing place for those who are willing to place their trust in skilled hands. A healing ethic built on a foundation of never losing sight of why we are here and how we got where we are today.
He understood the industry, and I think he also understood the role of healthcare in a community, that it doesn't stop when you walk away. You basically put building blocks in place for others to advance what you see as an important mission, and he did that.
I think it was one of his strengths that he could think strategically, and so he could try to think, well, what are we trying to do? What are the hurdles that keep us from getting there? Where do we want to be 5 years and 10 years down the road? And so it's particularly hard, I think, in a field like healthcare where it's changing so much. Being able to be flexible and still to see sort of where things are going, at least short term, I think was one of his strengths.
I tell people all the time that we live in the shadow of MT Mustian every single day at TMH. There's probably not a bit of this facility where he doesn't have some level of influence. If not in the mortar, certainly in the design, and just, the legacy of care.
He had a selfless point of view, and it was always wanting to know how the other person was doing and what he could do to make your career better, to make the hospital better, make the community better.
He was focused on this hospital and the delivery of health to the community, and he was going to make it a success whether or no. And he realized that making it a success was dependent on delivering health to everybody in the community. And in order to do that, he had to break down a lot of walls, and he did that diplomatically in the background.
MT changed this medical community in a lot of ways, but he changed the community even beyond that. People forget that he was a focal point of integrating this hospital. And that was not just important to the medical community. I think it sent a signal to the community at large that we were changing. Healthcare was changing, yes, but this was also a signal out to the rest of Tallahassee and our surrounding region that we needed to change, and this was evidence of change that needed to occur, that needed to be embraced.
Within these walls, your family will be part of the healing prescription. Everything we've done is designed for the one result that must be our mission: to heal.
I think the first thought we had was, how are we going to make the Mustian Center better, but better for the patient and the family, better for the patient and their loved ones. That was the first and foremost thought that we had.
The level of support that comes with having family nearby actually helps in the healing process, and so that's one of the reasons why these rooms are designed to be very family friendly.
I spent some time with my dad when he was in the ICU, so I know about that. But all of this is pretty, I think Dad would be very proud of it. And I think that, he always wanted Tallahassee to be, that you didn't need to go anywhere else for healthcare. You got it right here.
I'll be honest with you, I think he might be astonished as to how it's grown, truly how it's grown, and how it's filled some voids, and how its technology has been so advanced for this community of a place of this size to have the ability to do the things that are done at TMH, I think is outstanding. I think he'd be surprised.
He would be proud of the fact that the organization has grown to the point that we're doing levels of service that were unimaginable 20 years ago. He would probably turn to me and say, "We spent how much on this?" And I wouldn't tell him exactly, because it was what we had to do. It was the right thing. So he was a man of great economy, we might say, and so I think he'd be proud of it.
It's a very nice and generous thing of TMH to do. They didn't have to do this. And I think that we'll continue to be as proud of him as we've always been, and even more so when it opens.
This building, which bears the name of a man who saw the horizon before the dawn, and who understood that excellence should be generational. This building designed for a community deserving of nothing less than the very best. Welcome to our proud new home for hope.